Hello, my name is Akashdeep and I am a second year student at IIT Kharagpur in the Aerospace Engineering Department. This is my low speed aerodynamics assignment for question number 1. So the problem 1 goes like, what is the Kutta condition and how does it set the amount of circulation experienced by an airfoil? How does it translate to the amount of lift generated for the low speed airfoil? Starting with the images below. The images were given in the question, so which I will be using in my presentation as well, so we can refer there. Explain how flow around a lifting cylinder can be used to analyze flow over an airfoil that is obtained through Zukowski's transformation. If the point M on the circle transforms to point capital M on the airfoil, what is the velocity condition? So we'll refer to this diagram soon, so will give a better idea of the question. So before we start with the Kutta condition, I would first like to briefly, in a very short time, discuss the elementary flows, mainly 4 of them, and how we will use them to build up something called model flow for an airfoil. We had also done it for a cylinder in a previous chapter. So we have given these are given out some basic stream functions and the velocity potentials for different kinds of elementary flows. For the uniform flow is just the standard uniform flow. Uniform flow is the standard uniform flow, which has a phi of stream free stream velocity into x. Polar coordinates will be free stream velocity into r cos theta. R will be the direct distance between the origin and the point that we're talking about. And the stream function will be equal to v infinity y or v infinity r sine theta. So this is for uniform flow. So I will not write down the formulas as they're listed down here. I'll just draw the flows so that we get an idea of which flow we're talking about. So source flow is if we assume a source and it is having this kind of shape. So this is the source, and it is in all directions having the flow, and the stream function is given by this particular formula. This is equal to capital lambda divided by 2 pi into natural log of r. So this r is the distance that will be from the source. Let's say this point, particular p. So this distance will be r. So similarly, stream function can be seen here, which is in terms of theta. So let's say this is y-axis and this is x-axis. This will be theta. So, and this capital lambda represents the strength of the. It is a particular element that is called the strength of the source. So this is the strength of the source. Now talking about the doublet flow, if you have two sources really close to each other, like similar to dipole analogy, something like this. So it is going like this, like this, like this, so like this, like this, like this, like this. So something from here, it is making a doublet, draw it clearer, in a better and clear way here. So this is a doublet. So this is also, it also is associated with a particular strength, that is our kappa, this k variable kappa. Polar coordinates we have stream function and velocity potential. And finally for vortex flow, which is like this is the point, then this is the flow at a distance r, you can say, for example. So in this we have this gamma, capital gamma. Later we'll turn, this is also represented, I mean circulation also is represented by the same variables. So this is also again stream function, and in this case we have the radial and tangential velocity. So with this we have defined the elementary flows and just recap them well. Now we'll use this elementary flows to study the thin airfoil theory, and we'll realize the necessity and the need of Kutta condition and what exactly is Kutta condition. So this, let's assume a vortex filament, basically a line which has infinitely many vortex points, which are this concentric circles, as you can see over here. and let's say the strength of the entire filament is this gamma. It extends to both sides towards infinity, and if you combine such filaments, infinitely many of them, and see it from this perspective, so you will look at something like this. And this will be, later we'll realize that this will be a representation of a thin airfoil, the camber line of the airfoil, because this will have similar representations. Like we know that for a cylinder, lifting cylinder, we know that for a lifting cylinder, it is enough the one uniform flow and a doublet flow, sorry, source flow, or a doublet flow, source flow, and vortex flow. These flows can represent an entire cylinder, lifting cylinder flow. So similarly, we can represent these vortex filaments as a representation of a thin airfoil. For a thick airfoil, we'll have not a single line, it will be like this, but we are assuming a thin airfoil will be like this. So on camber line, we'll have this vortex sheet. So this is our representation that we have for a thin airfoil. Just to get a little mathematical feeling of this, we will, let's say, due to this particular representation, there is a velocity induced by a small element ds over here. Let's say it is at p, and let's say this is some velocity induced dv, and let's say this is a, this is b, and this is the x-axis and y-axis, and dv will be then gamma ds by 2 pi r, as we have seen before in the elementary flow induced function. So since dv is this, d phi will be from that only again, d phi will be minus gamma ds, if gamma is the strength of that particular small element. So gamma ds by 2 pi into 3 for that. So 5 you can just get after integrating minus 1 by 2 pi integral of theta into gamma d s a to b, this a to b. So this will be a 5, and integrating this you will get this. And just if you recall, like circulation around a point, vortex is equal to the strength of the vortex. So I said this is a representation of circulation also. The circulation around the vortex sheet is the sum of the strengths of elementary vortices, elemental vortices. So you can just write the entire circulation that we have for that particular this thing is equal to a to b gamma ds. Now we also know that from the definition of circulation around a dashed path, if you consider any rectangular dashed path, if you, let's say this is your vortex, this vortex filament from that point of view, and if you consider this particular dashed path, and this is the u1 velocity, this is the v1, this is the, let's say, v2 induced, and this is the u2, and let's say this length is ds, and this is dn. So you can just calculate this gamma ds for this particular small ds element, this a magnified ds element. So you'll get this as u1 minus u2 into ds plus v1 minus v2 into dn. So this just gives us that gamma is equal to, essentially, gamma ds is equal to u1 minus u2 ds, because our v1 minus v2, I mean dn tends to 0, so that term will go away. So gamma will be equal to just u1 minus u2. So it states that the local jump in tangential velocity across the vortex sheet is equal to the local sheet strength. That is an important point that we can get mathematically. And just before we just again get forward to the Kutta condition, before that I'd like to discuss the Kutta-Joukowski's theorem. I'll discuss it here itself. So I'll just mention a little bit of about Kutta-Joukowski theorem. So Kutta-Joukowski's theorem states nothing but the lift per unit span is equal to rho infinity, v infinity into the circulation of the airfoil. So this particular theorem is a very important theorem. I'll briefly derive it very briefly using heuristic arguments. We can derive it very formally using complex analysis. We can derive it using complex analysis as well, but I will avoid that now since we are specializing into the thin airfoil. I'll specifically derive it for that and use that theory to get the heuristic proof. So consider a thin airfoil of chord span C. Consider a thin airfoil of chord span C. Then you will have also just consider a moving velocity, moving air, moving fluid of density rho. Density rho fluid is there, and V is the incoming velocity for the airfoil, and outgoing velocity will be V plus small v, let's say. Capital V plus small v, this is capital V, capital V. So circulation will essentially give us, by taking a dashed contour, will into the span plus to span, this will give us minus capital V, minus small vc. So that delta P, that is the pressure difference on the both sides of the airfoil, can be found out using Bernoulli's theorem, considering one particular streamline. You can just say that rho into V square by 2 plus capital delta P, no, plus P plus delta P will be equal to, let's say there is a pressure difference delta P, so P plus delta P to rho by 2 into V plus small v square plus P. So now when we simplify this, we'll get delta P is equal to rho into small v into V. Now when we know that lift is just lift per unit span will be equal to just the chord length into the pressure. So we'll get rho into capital V into small v into C. Now we know that here our circulation is equal to small v, so we know we get minus rho V. Minus is just a convention. So this is how we can just derive Kutta-Joukowski's theorem in a very heuristic way. So there can be proper general formal proofs as well, but for now we can just think of it as a heuristic sense and heuristic way. Now we'll come to Kutta condition. What is Kutta condition? I'll come here. So let's just, what is Kutta condition? Now, if we look through the, if we remember the lifting flow over a cylinder, where we observe that an infinite number of potential flow solutions were possible, corresponding to infinite choice of circulations. So we can say the same for airfoil, that for a potential flow over an airfoil, for a given particular airfoil at a particular angle of attack, there are an infinite number of valid theoretical solutions corresponding to an infinite choice of the circulation, which is in this Kutta condition, you can see. So how do we decide? Because that is clearly not possible. That is clearly not possible that potential like infinite number of possible lifts cannot. There's always, for one particular airfoil at a particular angle of attack, there's always a particular lift associated. So how does nature decide? So experimentally observing for a lot of time, it has been seen that nature fixes that in a particular way using, and that is defined by Kutta condition, that is restricted by Kutta condition, and we will see how that happens just now. So that is what the Kutta condition's essence and necessity is. So if you consider these two different cases of gamma 1 and gamma 2, two circulation possible values are there. So how to decide which is being obeyed? Now the thing is, Kutta condition states that the air should smoothly leave the top and bottom surface of an airfoil at the trailing edge. So from these two, it is quite, at this stage, it is easily, we can make out that this is the right Kutta condition obeying situation. So how do we prove this mathematically? Somehow we'll prove this mathematically. That let's say that Bernoulli's equation, we can just, let's say that the trailing edge is called A. So from this A, you know that the Bernoulli's equation states that PA plus half rho V1 square, that will be, let's say, this the top is leaving at V1 and the bottom is leaving at V2. So let's say this is yeah, so V1 square is equal to PA plus half rho V2 square. So this should be satisfied, and from this we'll easily get V1 is equal to V2. So for this trailing edge, we see that velocities leaving top and bottom surface are finite and equal in magnitude. So, and also why finite? Why finite? Because they are basically not equal to zero. We can obviously see, we can assume that. So we can summarize the statement of Kota condition as, for a given airfoil at a given angle of attack, value of circulation around the airfoil is such that the flow leaves the trailing edge smoothly. And if the trailing edge is finite, then the trailing edge is a stagnation point also. That we'll see now. Since see, this is a stagnation point, that we'll see in a while now, that there is a condition, mathematical condition for Kota condition to be satisfied. And so for that, consider the airfoil with vortex sheets, again that analogy, that philosophy. The strength of such a vortex sheet is variable along the sheet and is denoted by gamma. So the statement in Kota condition in terms of vortex sheet will be that at trailing edge, gamma of trailing edge will be equal to gamma of A, that will be equal to V1 minus V2, and V1 equal to V2. So the gamma at trailing edge should be equal to 0. So this is the Kota condition finally, that gamma at trailing edge should be 0. So just highlight it. So this is how the gamma is decided. The capital gamma is decided. So this gives us final Kota conditions explanation and what is the necessity and how does it set our problem statement included, how does it translate to the amount of lift generated for the low speed airfoil. That gives us that introduces the Kutta-Joukowski's theorem that we had explained, that translates the lift into how does it translate the circulation. So how does it set the amount of circulation? That is using Kota condition that we explained, how gamma TE should be equal to 0. It should always leave. We will also soon use, after when we discuss Joukowski's transformation, we will also use explain using complex method, again the same thing. But this is also again a method to prove that it translates amount of lift and also sets the amount of circulation experienced by an airfoil in practical situations, which is observed. So with this one, with one point in the end of friction and lift, I will start with Joukowski's transformation. Now, without friction, could we have lift is the question. Even though we are even if we lived in a perfectly inviscid world, and an airfoil could not produce lift, because the presence of friction is the very reason why we have lift. This is kind of contradictory, but nature enforces the Kutta condition by means of friction. If there were no boundary layer, which is discussed in the third question in this assignment, that means no friction, there would be no physical mechanism in the world to achieve the Kutta condition, because that is, we need some physical intuitive mechanism to achieve this Kutta condition, and that is done using this boundary layer and using this friction. So friction is necessary. Friction is necessary to enforce Kutta condition. Physical means. It is a physical means, which is the only physical means to enforce Kutta condition. Without this, it would be, even in an inviscid world, it would have been not possible such that like this. So since we are done with Kutta condition and we have discussed the points which can be considered quite important surrounding it, we will now move on to the next part of the question, the Joukowski's transformation, and how we can translate. This is the question statement again, and how can we translate this lifting flow cylinder into a airfoil flow. So okay, so talking about this, let's say, what is Joukowski's transformation? It's a complex mathematical construct or a method which transforms, let's say, some z plane is there, y x plus iy, and some zeta plane is there, zeta, which is, let's say, some eta plus I psi, let's say zeta plus I psi. So this, let's say, if you have a geometrical figure, a unit circle, it will translate into some other geometrical figure. This I'm making like an airfoil because it will be doing the same thing. But let's say some random geometrical figure, and let's say there is a connection between them, which is like zeta is equal to z plus b square by z, where z is equal to x plus iy. So we can just say that zeta is equal to x, where z is equal to x plus iy. So you can just put maybe x plus iy instead of z. So plus b square by x plus iy. And if you just simplify this by making b is equal to 1, so it becomes x plus iy plus 1 by x plus iy. And when we simplify this further, this should become x into x square plus 1 y square plus 1 divided by x square plus y square, plus imaginary part should become y into x square plus y square minus 1 divided by x square plus y square. So this we should get as the final expression. And if we consider the case of a unit circle, we can say that z is equal, mod z should be equal to 1, because mod z is nothing but x square plus y square. So x square plus y square, x square plus 1. So this is a circle centered at 0, and radius is unity. So this, if you put this condition, this becomes 1, this becomes 1, this becomes 1, this becomes, so this becomes 2x plus 0i. So 2x, it just becomes 2x. So now this translates a unit circle from z plane to a straight line between from -1 is here, -2, and +2, to this line in the zeta plane. So this is the essence of Zukowski's transformation. And we know that there is something called a complex potential. If we define that, for now, let's delve into the aerodynamics part and our aerofoil part from here. So let's consider our usual F phi plus I psi, which is complex potential, and df by dz. If we take this derivative, this will be equal to our complex velocity, as previous chapters we have studied in aerodynamics. And we can, let's say this is, since a complex number, we can just denote it by u minus iv. Minus is just for convention, for convenience. It's nothing like plus or minus is necessary, but later we'll see that it's convenience. This we can just take the polar coordinates and angles, and in this uv plane we can take polar coordinates and angles, and we can get vr minus iv theta into cos theta plus I sin theta, sorry, minus I sin theta. And this, using Euler's formula, we can, using the cos theta is equal to, cos theta minus I sin theta is equal to e power I theta, we can just get into e power I theta. And once we got this, we can say that our W of xi will be equal to df by dz, which will be equal to df by dz into dz by dz, and which will be equal to d zeta, sorry, not xi. So d zeta, and which will be equal to W of z into dz by d zeta. This is zeta, sorry. So from here we can just continue that we can get a ratio of the complex velocities in zeta and z. This will give a good relation to us, zeta by W of z. So this gives us dz by d zeta. So this formula is important, which will be used later. So we'll just keep it for now. Okay. Next thing that we'll take is we assume that zeta is equal to, let's say, z plus b square by z. So let's say this is the zeta, z plus b square. So d zeta by dz will be nothing but, this will be 1, this will be b square, and 1 by z will be, derivative will be b square by z square. Yes, it will be this. And finally we can just write that W of zeta is equal to W of Z by 1 minus B square by Z square. Now if you look at this diagram, then we'll answer this question that we have explained how we can transform this using complex potential and all that. So what is the velocity condition at M and small and capital? So first we'll locate these 2 points and we'll find the velocity condition. So the point B, point M is at a distance small b from the origin in z plane, and point capital M is at a distance of 2b. Why is that? Because when we so when we just put z is equal to b in this expression, so zeta becomes 2b. So that is why M is mapping to capital M. So that is why this if point M on this transforms to point capital M. So if this is the expression, this is transforming clearly if we just put z is equal to b. Now when we put z is equal to b in this, so this should become W of b by 1 minus b square by b square. Now this becomes 0, but the denominator can not be 0 because W of that is the very essence of Kutta condition. If we make this infinity, that is 0, this becomes infinity, and this is not possible. So this has to be infinite to make this has to be 0 to make it indeterminate form. So this W of b, write it in green, this will W of b becomes 0 to make it 0, and this is exactly Kutta condition. Again proved using another method. So this angle of attack cylinder lifting flow, this angle of attack, same angle of attack airfoil, when translated point M to capital M, it translates from small b to 2b. This condition is enforced. This condition of W of b is enforced here. So with this, we have answered all the doubts, and we have answered the problem statement that how we can translate a lifting cylinder to a lifting airfoil from Zukowski transformation, which is a mathematical transformation in complex analysis. And we have seen if the point M on the cylinder is transforming to capital point M, then the velocity condition is that the W of B, complex velocity of B, should be equal to 0. So this is the condition that has been enforced, and with this we have done it. Problem statement has been explained. Just summarize it. I'll just summarize it once. That the problem was to define Kutta condition, which we have defined, and we have defined how it sets the amount of circulation out of infinite possible choices, and also how does it translate to the amount of lift using Kutta-Joukowski's theorem for a low-speed airfoil particularly. We have also explained this. So these 3 parts of the first question, first part of 3 parts of the first part of this particular problem statement has been explained: the Kutta condition and its setting of circulation, and also Kutta-Joukowski's theorem. And with the images that were given in the problem statement, we have also explained how we can transform from using the Zukowski's transformation from a cylinder to an airfoil, and how the point M, small m on cylinder at a distance b is transformed to capital point M at distance 2b, and the condition as W of b is equal to 0. So with this, we end the presentation. This is the whiteboard, whatever we have done. And thank you for listening.